Is there going to be a pullback within the crypto space? In this video, we're going to dive down into the market leader that is Bitcoin to take a look at the recent price action and see if we can answer this exact question. Will we see Bitcoin reach $53,000? Now, let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that Bitcoin is going to drop back to $53 before we start to see that next move to the upside? Or do you think it's potentially just going to go a little bit lower and maybe even the bear market has arrived? I'm interested to get a bit of a view on how everyone's kind of feeling out there in the space at the moment. Okay, right, with all that said, let's actually jump down into the charts and take a look at Bitcoin in a bit of detail and see what we think is likely to happen here, or most probable in the crypto space. Okay, guys, so this is the Bitcoin to USD pair, and we are using one weekly chart, and basically Bitstamp is our data source. Now, a lot of people who are familiar with the channel will be familiar with this particular view. It's basically dissecting the three bull runs that we have here in terms of data, 2013, 2017, 2021, right? And I can obviously acknowledge that basically what I'm doing here is measuring the time distance between the spikes in Bitcoin prices, where the bear markets are, the length of the bear markets, the length of the bull runs, all that kind of stuff, with also percentage gains on each bull run. Pretty standard stuff, but it helps us understand, what's happened in the past and what is more probable to happen again. History does have a tendency to repeat itself, although it can be different. It's more often than not, it isn't, right? And it does tend to repeat itself. So whether or not we believe that there's going to be a super cycle and the market's not going to crash, that kind of conversation happens every single bull run. And every single time we've seen so far is a crash, right? By 80% of the value, 80, 90% or whatever, right? So it's important that we do acknowledge that the same conversations happen every bull run, and history has a tendency to repeat itself. Now, I only say that as a fair weather warning, right, to everybody, because the last thing I want to do is have a bunch of people watching this video and thinking I'm a bear. I don't think we're in a bear market yet, and 53k is just a dip, and I don't want people be holding bags, thinking that the price is going to the moon, and actually they're left holding those bags into the bear market, which was never their intention. Okay, it's great if you're buying a bag and you're going to carry it through into the bear market. That's fine. Obviously, you can see if you've bought Bitcoin back at the peak of 2013, you're in profit. If you bought it at the peak here of 2017, you're in profit. Right, hodling does work. So if you're buying it and you're going to hodl it for a few years to come, it works. It does. Okay. Obviously, bear markets, I'm not bearish right now. I am bullish, but obviously we have to acknowledge that pullbacks occur in the market, and they're very natural. People are taking profits, specifically experienced traders, scraping profits along the way, riding the waves and all that kind of good stuff, right? So in this particular chart, we can see that we have the Gaussian channel. Basically, the red areas are your obviously, as they are, a bear market, although the bear market technically actually happens as soon as you enter into the Gaussian channel, in my personal opinion. Okay, and then obviously the lowest value is the red areas, right? That's where you want to be buying, in those red areas. Otherwise, if you're above the Gaussian channel, you're in a bull run. It's very, very straightforward. It's very, very simple. Okay, obviously we had that kind of warning up here most recently when Bitcoin dropped from 65 to 28k, that it could have been a bear market. We were adamant that it wasn't. We were adamant that actually it's just a fourth wave correction. And the good news is we never actually closed inside the Gaussian channel. We took a dip inside it, and then we moved out of it. Okay, and again, this is something that we saw over here, for example. And we got very close to it in 2013. We obviously did touch it here and rode it up, and then we dropped in, right? It's when we drop in that we consider it bearish, and when we're actually above it, we're doing good, we're actually bullish, right? And I think that actually where we are right now is actually pretty good. We're a fair distance away from the Gaussian channel, and going down to 53k, it isn't a problem, and we'll still be able to continue in a nice bullish way. The yellow lines signal the time frames between bull runs. Here we have 1,470 days between the peak of 2013 and 2017. So if we were to apply 1,470 days, that would take us to the 20th of December. I also think that it's also worth noting that November the 25th, this particular time frame right here, was the peak of 2013, whereas it was December, which was the peak of 2017. So we could also argue that actually It's not the 1,070 days that's important to kind of acknowledge, but it might actually be that the time frame for Bitcoin's peak actually comes in January, November, December, January, and maybe the next bull run will be February. You never know, right? There's patterns inside this data after all. So I've put a line here to give me a kind of a draw line in the sand, if you will, 20th of December. As a theoretical kind of push there on Bitcoin to say maybe that is where the peak comes in. But I'm also quite aware and quite open to the idea that it gets extended into 2022. What I'm not 100% behind just yet is this super cycle theory with so many institutions getting into the space and a bit more adoption that we're not going to see a pullback. I think we are going to see a pullback. The hedge against inflation has already been achieved in theory because these billionaires have bought up the crypto. Specifically Bitcoin or Solana or something like that. They are not going to be carrying those coins into the bear market, I do not believe. I think they will be dropping it on the market, and their gains are their hedge against the inflation. So you take that with a pinch of salt. We might end up with a super cycle. We might not end up with a super cycle. We might end up with the same thing that's happened time and time again. And obviously, you know, we want to be making sure that we're on the right side of the bull run when we liquidate our own assets. We don't want to be left holding a bag and carrying that into the bear market where possible. So make sure you have your strategies in place. Make sure you understand how to get out of the market. Make sure you've signed up with many different exchanges, all of the usual kind of stuff, okay? You know, it's important that you've tested your rails in and out of the market, right? So it's great getting in, but how do you get out? Make sure you have all that stuff lined up. Make sure you have your targets associated with your exit strategies, all that kind of stuff, and make sure you're ready. The last thing you want to do is be caught holding a bag thinking that actually now it's different. It's not going to lose its value. It's not going to lose its value. And only to see this Gaussian channel drop in to the Gaussian channel, drop down into the red area, lose the value, and yeah, you've been holding the entire time, which is fine if that's what you're intending to do. But if you're unintended to do so, it can be very, very frustrating to just see that value drop out of your portfolio. Okay, so make sure you're with it in terms of, you know, how to get out. Very, very important. Right, so now we have a good understanding of the structure of Bitcoin as the leader of the crypto space, right? Everything's looking very good. Okay, we're very bullish, right? Although a slight pullback is, in my opinion, imminent. Okay, let's go into Bitcoin chart then. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the Gaussian channel because we're not going to need that for this viewpoint, okay? Okay, so here we have the bull run for 2021 Bitcoin, right? Basically, we had a false start, almost, you could argue, wave one up here, which was basically, you know, mid-July 2019. And obviously we pulled back, which would have been a normal wave 2 correction. The pandemic also pulled us down much further. So you could argue that this little section right here is the delay in Bitcoin. Okay, so if we do end up with an overextension, this would be the reason why, not this in my opinion. Okay, this wave 4 correction from 65k to 28k, although was a Wyckoff distribution, Wyckoff accumulation, etc., and that is, you know, classified, I guess, as manipulation, a pattern that is basically designed to drain money from retail investors. This is the real reason that I think there's going to be a delay, because it did delay or re-triggered a bull run here, right? And this is also where the altcoins started their bull run, okay? Whereas Bitcoin actually started things over here. So I think if there was a delay caused, this is what caused it, which was the pandemic. Okay, so we are still 5 impulsive moves to the upside. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And again, this fourth wave correction, although there was manipulation in terms of the patterns that were forming, you know, is still very natural in terms of these impulsive moves to the upside. Therefore, we are still looking for this fifth wave, which could go up to about 187k based on just this wave 3 to wave 4 correction. Now, if we actually take the trends, the trend of wave 2, the trend of wave 3, the trend of wave 4, you could actually argue that there's a $287,000 Bitcoin, okay? But I think that would be under very, very different circumstances. We'd have to see a lot more adoption of Bitcoin for that to occur. So interesting that the charts are showing a 4.236 at that level based on the trends of the bull run. But take that with a pinch of salt. 100k is something that we haven't seen yet. So let's see what happens when we get there. I do expect some serious, I guess, what you call it, marketing or not marketing, media coverage once we actually get to those kind of levels. Okay, so interesting to see what happens after 100k in terms of FOMO, etc. For now, we're obviously trading at 57, so it's quite a long way to go. So we have to bear that in mind. Right. So the weekly chart's looking pretty good. We obviously know that we're not touching the Gaussian channel. We're looking bullish from that perspective. We're also tracking these impulsive moves to the upside. Very bullish still, halfway through. And again, there's going to be waves within waves. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that on this weekly chart. But, you know, within your fifth wave, there's going to be 5 impulsive waves. Inside those 5 impulsive waves, there's going to be 3 impulsive waves and 2 ABC corrections. And inside those, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to really focus in on the hourly chart. Okay, because this is where we see that most recent move. Okay, so if we actually take this, we can see that we are impulsive to the downside. Or what was an ABC turned impulsive. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and we can see that we are now tracking quite nicely. We had this move to the upside. And now we're tracking to the downside inside this fifth wave. Now, there's two things that could happen here. We obviously have this sharp decrease right now. So we'll have an A, a B, and then a C potentially, okay, which could take us down to a support level maybe a little bit higher, okay, but again, it can overextend, or we end up with this impulsive move inside our fifth wave, which would be a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, completing that down to $53,000, which would be our support level. Okay, there's a couple of areas of support down here, so I've actually just chosen to put this at 53,800, but we could also argue that you could come down to the area of 53,300, and also there's also support at 51, or we'll call it 52k as well. Okay, there's an interesting gap here as well, actually, guys. And we'll just kind of highlight that to you. This gap right in here is really interesting. And that's because we haven't actually been inside it from a wick perspective. We went straight through it. We tested this area and we moved up, right? We found this as a resistance line, but we didn't actually come back and back test it. So this could be an interesting zone that we might actually pop down into. This is between 53.5 and that 52k level, right? So in here could be an opportunity to maybe accumulate before we get that next launch to the upside, which could come out of here. So this fifth wave could arguably be in here, for example. But we'll hold out on that. We'll see how that kind of happens in due course, right? For the main thing that we want to watch and see what happens is this move, right? At least thing that I guess, yeah, the least that I'm expecting is an ABC, okay, which would mean that we are coming down lower. And at worst case, I guess we are looking impulsive down a little bit lower to these support levels. Once this move plays out, this completes the this impulsive move to the downside. After an impulsive move, you always get an A, B, C. And in the case that this impulsive is down, our ABC correction is up. Okay, so we will be getting that bounce that we often talk about as well. Okay, so again, we'll be looking for a very quick recovery. Now, what we'd ideally want is to turn this ABC impulsive. Okay, and this could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 out of here to new all-time highs, or it might actually be that we end up with this ABC followed by a smaller ABC, and then that leads into our impulsive move up to new all-time highs. Okay, but like I said, I'm bullish. I am still feeling like we are going to be going up to new all-time highs, and we aren't anywhere near the danger zone on that Gaussian channel, so we're not slipping into a bear market, and 2, you know, we are quite a way off from actually completing that fifth wave on the big macro picture. So everything's looking very good, but obviously, you know, things happen in waves, and, you know, liquidation events happen. $800 million was liquidated because people don't seem to learn, and leverage is bad, and people still go to leverage. And those, you know, until platforms like Robinhood, eToro stop offering leverage, and, you know, even arguably Binance, etc., you're going to have this problem time and time again. It's very easy money for whales, institutions to, you know, in the space. They can see these leveraged positions and they can go the other way. So guys, for me, this obviously has a huge impact on the entire crypto space. I'm looking at these streets being filled with blood today across various altcoins because Bitcoin's taken a bit of a dip. This is going to continue, which means we've got Black Friday deals coming. So let me know in the comments below as well, what coins are you looking forward to buying when Bitcoin drops down to these inevitable low levels? Okay, and I'm going to leave the video there. I'm going to see, let me see the comments, see what you guys are thinking, see what kind of opportunities you're going to be getting into. And if you have found this video useful and informative, hit that like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications. And in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.